Hey Floss Tube, welcome back. This is my 79th Floss Tube video, and I'm excited to share with you what I have been working on this week. First of all, I want to welcome you. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you enjoy the things that I have to share with you. And I would hope that if you enjoy my channel, that you would subscribe. If you are coming back, thank you for coming back and watching my videos. I really appreciate it. Thank you everybody for all of your comments. Especially thank you for all of your well wishes for my daughter and for our anniversary. It's greatly appreciated. We sent my daughter off on Tuesday. Last weekend was really nice. And then she got on a plane for Mexico City last Tuesday. And she arrived safely and is doing well. It's kind of a bittersweet feeling to see her go. I'm excited for her to go, but we kind of miss her a little bit also. As far as work and everything else goes, everything is going well. Today is a rainy day in Arizona. It's just a really nice light rain. We don't get days like this very much, so it's really kind of nice to see some nice rain come through. Before we get started, I just want to respond to a couple of questions that were left on my channel since the last time I made a video. So first of all, Cindy asked me, how many hours do you stitch every day at night? I usually stitch 2 or 3 hours. It kind of depends on what's going on. Sometimes I have less time than that, but that's a good round number, is about 2 hours, sometimes 3. Jennifer asked me, when I start a diagonal, how do I start it? So it kind of depends on where I am in the chart. If I'm starting from the side, I just start with 10 stitches, and then I 10 stitches wide, and I stitch 10 stitches. It ends up being, if you look at a 10 by 10 block on a chart, it ends up being half of one block and half of the block underneath it if you draw a diagonal line through both of those blocks. When I get up towards the top of the chart, then I start with 1 stitch and gradually increase until I have 10 stitches, and then I stitch 10 stitches all the way down the diagonal. It just kind of depends on where I am with the chart. If you want to get a little bit more detail, you can check out my diagonal stitching videos, and that, I think it kind of explains that a little bit more. So Deborah asked me, what 3 tips would I give for somebody who is starting a mirabilia? She is planning on starting one. And I've only stitched 1 mirabilia, and so I don't know that I have anything specific to mirabilia designs, but I'll give you my 3 tips for when you are starting a large project. And I kind of think that's why Deborah asked me the question. The first tip I would give you would be to make sure that you have everything set up correctly. You do not want to get to the point where you've stitched a whole bunch and you realize that you're positioned on the fabric wrong, or you have the wrong size fabric or something like that. So I would always make sure that my fabric is oriented correctly, and make sure that that it is the right size. And the way that I do that is I find the center of my fabric, and then I count over to the side and then up or down to the corner that I'm going to start at. I count 10 stitches and place a pin so that I don't have to count those 10 stitches again. And I just mark every 10 stitches until I get out to the edge, and then I mark every 10 stitches until I get up to the corner. If I get to the corner and it looks like it's in a good position, it looks like everything makes sense, then that's when I feel confident that I can start the piece, that everything's okay. That has saved me a couple of times. I had one time where I wanted to start something And I got out my fabric and I started counting, and I thought my fabric was 32 count. It ended up being 28 count and too small, and it was too small for the design that I was working on. So that's my first tip, is make sure that you're all set up so that so that everything goes well and you don't get an unpleasant surprise after you've done a lot of stitching. The next tip that I would say is to not be intimidated by a large project. I've had several people say, oh, I'm not up to stitching something that big. The only difference between a small project and a large project is the number of stitches. It's the number of X's that you have to make before it's finished. So it's more a question of how much time you want to dedicate rather than whether or not it's any more difficult. So don't be intimidated by large projects. Feel free to give them. They give you a lot of enjoyment and a great big sense of accomplishment. And if you're worried about specialty stitches, really the only difference between specialty stitches and cross stitches, in my opinion, is how you make the stitch. And so don't be intimidated by a project. The third tip that I have is to enjoy your stitching. And this is something that I could use, a tip that I could use that I need to remind myself every once in a while. Enjoy the process of stitching. Enjoy the process of watching it, watching the design develop. And don't get so hung up about when you're going to finish it. Don't get impatient with that, because if you're stitching a large project, it's going to take a while. And if you are upfront about that and know that it's going to take a while, and have the attitude that you're just going to enjoy your stitching as you go, that helps quite a bit. So there are my 3 tips. Thank you, Deborah. That was a wonderful question. It made me think. I had to think about 3 things that I could give you. So I mentioned last time that my anniversary was last Tuesday, and my wife surprised me with something. She gave me a chart. And this is, I really like this chart too. This is called The Lord is My Shepherd. This is a design by Yvette Ungricht, who is, she's a designer that lives in Salt Lake City. In fact, my wife ordered it online, and the address, her address is in the same zip code that my grandma used to live in. So she lives in an area of Salt Lake City that I'm pretty familiar with. This is a design. It's basically a band sampler with the 23rd Psalm written through it. It starts with, the top band is a shepherd with some sheep, and then there's some specialty stitches, and then there's kind of a forest scene by a river, and then there's some more specialty stitches, and I think these are fruit trees down here, and then there's a little Hardanger band down at the bottom. And of course, the 23rd Psalm is written all the way through that. I really like this. This seems like an appropriate design to start because we're getting close to Easter. So I'm thinking that this is going to be my next start. But my wife doesn't know. It's going to be a surprise. So anyway, I really like this, and I'm excited to stitch it. This designer, Yvette Ungricht, has several different designs that are really cool. She has another design that's basically another band sampler, but it's the story of the Good Samaritan. She has another band sampler that has the words to Come, Come Ye Saints, which is a hymn that we sing. It was a hymn that was written while the pioneers were crossing the plains to settle in Utah. And that sampler I really like that sampler too. It has, partly because it has the Salt Lake Temple on it, and it looks really cool. So I'm really excited to start this, and in a couple of weeks this might be my next start. So stay tuned, and we'll see if I follow through with that. Okay, so what have I been working on this week? I have been working on this design. This is, of course, Winter Quakers. It's a design by Rosewood Manor. It's one of a series of 4 patterns, 4 seasonal Quaker patterns. I started this last December, and I've been working on it. So I will show you a picture of what this looked like the last time you saw it. I've really enjoyed working on it. So I am stitching on the called for fabric, which is 28 count dwarf by picture this plus. The threads are the Valdani Threads, that the Valdani thread pack that was designed for the design. And I'm still enjoying working with them. They're a little bit different than DMC, but I'm enjoying working with them. So this is what it looks like now. So basically, the last time you saw it, I had this much done. So I've done all of this. I've made it over. This is the upper right corner of the design. So I've made it all the way up to here to the corner, and now I can work down. I decided to do that so that I could scroll up on my scroll bars to work down on this other stuff. There are some pretty large motifs that are that I want to be, basically, the way things are arranged, it just made sense to finish the top so that I could scroll down a little bit and make room for some of the motifs that are coming. Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit closer look of what I have stitched. So basically I have stitched all of these through here. And it's been kind of an adventure this week. I had a couple of major errors that I had to fix. This motif here, I accidentally started it up here. And I could have probably moved things around, but I didn't want to go to the effort of figuring out how to fit everything around to mix it. So I had this about half stitched up here, and I had to take it out and put it in the right place. Yeah, and there's even a mistake here with this motif. It's 2 stitches wider than designed, but that one I could live with without taking it out. I really like this one with I think these are like pine branches. This is so far is my favorite motif that I've stitched. And then there's the first cardinal. There are several cardinals in this piece, so there's the first one of those. The colors in this design are really interesting. You have basically they are variegated white with different colors, and then you have these great big brilliant colors like this green and this purple and this red. And another thing is the variegation. There's no gradient when the thread changes from one color to another. It just immediately happens. So you get these lines in here which are kind of interesting. So it's just a little bit different. I've really enjoyed working on it, and I'm looking forward to stitching more of it. So basically my plans are the next time I work on this motif here still needs to be finished, and I need to fill in down through here and over, and then there's like a great big huge motif right there. So yeah, so it's been really fun. It's been a great week, and I look forward to working on this again. I'm really happy with my progress. I am about 25% finished, a quarter finished now. So yeah, that means 2 weeks. I've worked on it 2 weeks, 25%. So that means what? 6 more weeks to go. So hopefully, okay. So let's talk a little bit about what I am going to be stitching this week. This is going to be fun. It's time to pull out this. This is the Queen Sampler. Of course, this is a design by, oh, this is the stitch guide, which I'm also working on. The Queen Sampler, which was done by the Needles Prayse, who was Darlene Osteen. And of course, this was re-released, and Needlemade Designs made the stitch guide available last year. I am working on this with the stitch guide, mostly because the floss colors have changed over the years when this was first finished, and so I'm really using her color conversion, and I will probably do most of the other things that she suggests. This is a challenge piece for me because it has lots of specialty stitches, and I have decided to stitch it reversibly, which is basically what it is designed for, the way it was designed. So I am learning how to stitch reversibly as I stitch this, and I'm going to learn a whole bunch of specialty stitches also. So when I started this before, I was really busy with work, and I only worked on this for like 3 days. So that's how much I got. My progress is really, really minimal on this, partly because I had to figure out how to stitch all of these letters reversibly. This top band is alternating double backstitch. So I made it all the way to L, and I'm hoping to finish these letters and start working on the bands underneath. For those of you who are curious, the last time I showed this, there were some people who pointed out there's no J. No, there's no J in the alphabet. I think that is because it is meant to look old, and older alphabets did not have a J. They used the I and the J interchangeably. So I'll give you a little bit closer look. And then just for fun, just to show you, so far I've been able to do it reversibly. This motif, I was learning on this one, this little cross needs to be taken out and restitched because it's not perfectly reversible. But there it is. There it is. And I'm excited to work on it this week. So yeah, that is all that I have to share with you today. I hope that you have a great week. I am excited to be working on this and excited to see how far I get. As always, you can follow me on Instagram if you want to see my daily progress and see how far I get on this before I make my next video. I am at blitstitch on Instagram. If you haven't, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and feel free to like this video if you have enjoyed it. I always enjoy hearing from you and would be glad to answer any questions that you have for me regarding anything. As always, I hope that you have a great week, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.